All right, let's get right into it here. Market is pretty much flat on the S&P and Nasdaq. Semiconductor, however, along with the Russell 2000 and biotech, these guys are down about 1% or so. On tonight's analysis, I do want to stick with the Nasdaq 100, the Qs here, 65-minute chart, because on the Qs, we have something we do not have on S&P 500. So we're gonna pay attention to this, and we're gonna try to forecast in this video why. Well, first of all, why we're gonna talk about why the market kind of stagnating here, stagnated today, and what we could expect going forward here. As you can see, we do have an island up gap on the Nasdaq. You see, previously we do see that down gap, right? This is where we close, this is where we open. So there's a down gap, it gapped down. And then we came back up, right? This happened on Tuesday, where we closed right here this week, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, yesterday morning, we gapped up above the down gap, right? So in that process, it has created an island up gap. Perfect. So that's an island up gap. That's why it gets a green box here. And this entire vicinity is an island, right? So that's where it gets that purple box. So you see this gap is superior versus this gap. This gap just gets regular kind of grayish blue color because that's a regular gap. However, this gap is pretty sizable, as you can see. But nonetheless, island up gap is stronger up gap. There are two different types gaps here. But what's really interesting though, if you look at how this market played out in the last couple days, look at this. You might wonder, why do we stagnate the entire day today? Again, this is where it gapped up here, because after that island up gap, market ran up entire day yesterday. We gapped up slightly, probably an exhaustion gap, because that gap got filled right away and it stagnated entire day. That's what we have, pretty much flat number here. End of the day today, because the reason why we're stagnated today, because what this oscillator is telling us is that bulls are tired. Bulls cannot run every single day, especially the fact that bulls been running here for days after hitting that oversold. Bulls were fully rested. They battle with all the moving averages here along with that down gap. They had one last push. Energy remained on Wednesday. We talked about this on Tuesday night's analysis that bulls got one more day of energy left. So they needed to gap it up, turn this into an island up gap, and they ran it up all day yesterday and they're tired. That's exactly what happened in early May. Look at this. Oversold, bulls are fully rested, they bring it up, a lot of moving averages, overhead supplies here, resistances in that vicinity. What happened? Bulls gap it up over all the moving averages, all the resistances, and you see they shoot that oscillator up and they follow up with that price action. They ran it up, and then as soon as that oscillator hits that overbought, extreme overbought, and crossed up, what happened? Or crossed down on that oscillator, as you can see right here. What happened on the price? Stagnated, but it stagnated for days. But there's a micro-term moving average was right there to prop itself just about a little bit so that it doesn't roll over. We talked about this the entire month of May. That's exactly what's going on right now today. Despite the fact that we had a lot of bullish pressure yesterday, you might be wondering, why did we not see that continuation? Bulls are tired, exactly like what happened during May. So what we want to pay attention to going forward is 460, 60-ish level on the Qs, because that's a previous all-time high, right? Previous swing high, previous resistance. So if we do see a little bit of downside tomorrow, possibly you might even see a down gap, because that's what happened in May, right? We start stagnated. You see how this candle looks kind of funny, right? It sort of have a green candle, but then it started from here. How? Because it gapped down. This is where we close. Next day, we gap down to the micro term, and then we pushed up. That's why we see that green candle. So if we do see a down gap, that's 460 or so, 460, 460, 20, 460, 64 or so. That's the level you want to pay attention to. And we might see some kind of buying activities. But even though if we see some sort of buying activities, I don't know how high it can really go, because again, bulls need to rest. So despite the fact that we did see that candle right here, pretty bullish candle, right? But it really didn't go anywhere for days, you see, because bulls needed to rest and that oscillator needed to reset. And that's probably what's going to happen going forward. We're probably going to see some sort of little bit of buying here and there. We might see consolidation, really stagnating price action in the coming days.